Alright people, welcome back to another video in the Mitre attack series. Today we are going to take a look at data encrypted for impact T1486. So this is something that is usually referred to as ransomware. We covered this also in our kill chain series already briefly, because it was one of the go-to examples. And now let's just take a look at how does this technique work, look like in Mitre attack. So yeah, so let's switch here over to the editing mode. I will copy this slide from last time, and today is the 2nd December, and yeah, this is alright, and we just need to change the source in a moment. So as usual, let's just copy the text. We don't have any sub-techniques here. The link is here. There we go. And let's shift this up so I remember the combination of the keys needed. And in a moment when we have copied everything, then we can take a look. So this is what we have here. And as far as I can tell, that's about it. That's about it. Okay, then let's go into the reading mode again, like this, and let's take a look what they write here about ransomware type of encryptions. Also, I boosted the audio of my videos, not of the past videos, but from this one, by 5 decibel, because I noticed that my voice through this microphone is a little bit too silent, and you have to scale up the volume on your device quite much. And that's okay if you have headphones. They're usually loud enough, but I tried it out through the speakers of my notebook, and I noticed that I had to turn it up to 90% volume to hear my voice properly. So that was, I think, not how it should be. And other content creators are also have louder voices or louder audio. So I turned it up, and let's see if it is a better result. Okay, but that's off topic. Let's get started with the data encryption for impact. I think we have enough space here to make this a little bit bigger. Yes, so that's nice. Let's see. Adversaries may encrypt data on target systems or on large numbers of systems in a network to interrupt availability to systems and network resources. Yes, very good. So here, interrupt availability, this is one of the protection goals. And we covered protection goals as well. Interrupt availability, that's one protection goal. To systems and network resources. They can attempt to render stored data inaccessible by encrypting files or data on local and remote drives and withholding access to a decryption key. Yes, that's what it is. Withholding access to decryption key. Since they want to earn money, the only way to do that is by selling the encryption key. Just destroying the data doesn't do much from a financial perspective. Okay, so this may be done in order to extract monetary compensation from a victim in exchange for decryption or a decryption key, ransomware, or to render data permanently inaccessible in case where the key is not saved or transmitted. Yeah, this last case is just data destruction. What I seen in my job is cyber criminals trying to sell you the key for bitcoins. Yeah, in the case of ransomware, it is typically that common user files like Office documents, PDF, images, videos, audio, text, and source code files will be encrypted. Well, it's also usual that the entire hard disk drive is encrypted, or whatever, your entire storage medium is encrypted. They are not selective when it comes to what to encrypt and what not. They encrypt everything. And often renamed and or tagged with specific file markers. Adversaries may need to first employ other behaviors such as file and directory permission modification, or system shutdown reboot. That's other techniques that they need to do. We are here in the last step, by the way. So if you see a tactic, which is like the kill chain step, we are at impact. And this is the same as action on objective in the Lockheed Martin terminology. Same thing. So we are at the very last step here. Yeah, nice to see they have like other techniques that we can look at later. In order to unlock and or gain access to manipulate these files, yeah, they somehow need the permission to encrypting data that's typically a high privilege account. You need administrator rights to do that. In some cases, adversaries may encrypt critical system files, disk partitions, and the MBR. What is the MBR? Let me know in the comments. I might Google it, but the MBR. Adversaries may also encrypt virtual machines hosted on ESXi or other hypervisors. Yes, this is the case that I have seen. So they encrypted the entire image on the ESXi. They controlled the ESXi host. That was a common thing to do. Yeah, to maximize impact on the target organization, malware designed for encrypting data may have worm-like features. We also had that word, right? Worm-like. So a worm, that's a virus that transmits. This was the Stuxnet example. A worm spreads on its own. It doesn't need much command and control. It just looks what other parts of the network can it reach, and once it reaches them, it tries to impact them as well, or infect, or there are many words for that, but it tries to settle there and compromise the systems. Yeah, worm-like features to propagate across a network by leveraging other attack techniques like valid accounts. Yes, we will look at that. Valid accounts, or as credential dumping, and SMB, Windows admin shares. Yes, SMB, that's this file share protocol. And in fact, valid accounts, this was back in the day my first use case in a SIM environment that I developed for a security operations center. Valid accounts, I remember that one well because my boss back in the day, I mean, this is like, yeah, this is some years ago now. He told me, all right, let's implement Mitre attack rules in our SOC environment. And we were working for a client, and these Mitre techniques, they were pretty new back in the day. It was 2018, and they distributed the files, and I got valid accounts. And later I found out that this was out of the mix of possible use cases to implement. This was one of the most, it had a lot of sub techniques. It was the most complicated, let's put it that way. So I remember valid accounts very well because this was my first exposure to Mitre attack back in the day, and I started with this one, and I remember it very well. We will take a look. I'm eager to see how much did it change, because I didn't touch valid accounts. I didn't even look at this page for the last years. I guess it's like it must have been a traumatic experience back in the day, working on something complicated like that for the first time, being exposed to Mitre. But yeah, so this is how I remember valid accounts. It's one of the more important use cases that you can implement for sure. But yeah, let's move on. A little story on the side. Then we have encryption malware may also leverage internal defacement. I don't know what this is. We might take a look as well, such as changing victim wallpapers or ESXi server login messages, or otherwise intimidate victims by sending ransom notes or other messages to connect printers. Okay, internal defacement is like blackmailing, or other messages to connect printers, known as print bombing. Yes, if they have connection to a printer, they will print you out. Okay, you have been encrypted, you have 48 hours to pay the ransom or the data will be destroyed. That appears via printer, because then you can be sure that somebody in the office will see it, and will forward it to the security team or to the CEO if it's a smaller company. In cloud environments, storage objects within compromised accounts may also be encrypted. Yes, storage objects. Yes, this is like a NAS system accessed by an account. Yes, it can be encrypted too. It's not NAS, it's cloud environment, sorry. So for example, in AWS, adversaries may leverage services such as AWS server-side encryption with customer-provided keys to encrypt data. Yes, so in cloud it is also a big deal. So we didn't take a look this time at the right side. We usually should start here, but that's okay. Let's see what it is. So it has no sub-techniques. It's in the impact tactic. That means it's the last one. Platforms ESXi. Yes. So this is the case that I have witnessed when participating in one of those ransomware incidents. Then infrastructure as a service. Yes. So if you have like that's like the cloud services that you can buy, and there are like different levels. Infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, and software as a service. So here you are at a very low level when it comes to encryption. Then it is Linux, Windows, Mac OS. To be fair, it is most often it is Windows that is being encrypted. But if it's ESXi, they can encrypt anything, obviously. But if we really speak about operating systems, most often Linux or Windows, that's what it is. Mac OS rarely, because it is not distributed enough to justify an attack. That's like one advantage of using exotic operating systems, because the hacker wants to impact as many people as possible. And Windows is used by, I feel like 80% of the population, so yes, create a hack for that and you will hit most of the computer users. Then the impact type, very interesting. That's like the goal, the protection goal. So it impacts availability. That's also interesting. Contributors, extra hop, I don't know. Harshal, Mitre, no. Qualys, yes. Qualys is a vulnerability management software. It discovers vulnerabilities and has a dashboard. It's a nice tool. And you have another dude, Danny, also Qualys. Oh, it just says that these are employees from Qualys. Okay, that's a weird way to write it, but now I understand. Yes. Now I understand. Then you have Oleg Kolesnikov from Securonix. Securonix is a SIM provider, one of the more modern ones. And Travis Smith is also from Qualys. So that's interesting that you have SIM and vulnerability management employees participating in this. Again, last modified October 2025. So when I look at these pages, and let's not jump back, but they have all been revised in October this year. So I believe all of the rules that I've seen has been last changed or last modified in October 24 or somewhere in October. I guess they had at Mitre a work group that went through all of the Mitre tech use cases and revising them. And that's why it's October, so it's really a good sign of quality. But yeah, so we have now read through this. The next thing we want to see, as usual, is let's go back to a little bit to the mode here that you see what I'm doing. So the next step now is to take a look at the procedure examples. Again, we are not going to take a look at all of them. Oh, and there's a name that I'm familiar with, unfortunately. Yep, so here, these guys, Akira Group. These are the guys that hacked the company that I worked for as well. This is when I participated in an incident, and this was Akira Group. So, and they have multiple entries here, and yes, so unfortunately this is a sad story. And also I just noticed we have the 2nd December. It's not a Monday, it's a Tuesday. It's a Tuesday, we need to put it this. We need to put it like this. There we go. But yeah, so let's read through the different groups now. Akira can encrypt victim file systems for financial extortion. Yes, that's what happened. The purpose, including through the use of the Cha-Cha-20 and Cha-Cha-8 stream ciphers. Is it worth figuring out what kind of ciphers these are? So stream cipher, that means it's a symmetric encryption, meaning that encryption key equals decryption key. It's not public key infrastructure, public key cryptography. It's a simple symmetric. If you are interested in that, let me know. So I learned at university so I learned symmetric crypto versus asymmetric crypto. If you like, I can dig out one of my old books and we can dig into this. If you want to you'll see more about that. But whenever you hear stream ciphers, you know immediately that this is a symmetric protocol, and you also know that the encryption key is can be used for decryption as well. This is always like that with symmetric. With asymmetric, it's different. The encryption key is totally different to the decryption key. Those are two different numbers. Or not numbers, but codes or whatever. Yeah, interesting topic. So sometimes what you learn at university helps to interpret the sentence here. What else do they do? Akira encrypts files in victim environments as part of ransomware operations. Yes, I don't understand why they have two entries here for them with different SIDs. I need to figure out what is S and what is G. We might do that today, but let me mark it down. And also these markings, by the way, whenever I rewatch the video, and I sometimes do to just make sure that the voice is okay and that I don't talk. Sometimes you get lost in thoughts, you know, and you don't even notice, but when you rewatch the video, you immediately see. So, and all of these yellow things here, they catch my eye, and this might be ideas for future topics on this channel. So, difference between S and G. Need to figure this out at some point. Yeah, then is Akira V2, another S. The Akira V2 encryptor targets the VMFS volumes path by default and can use the Rust crypto library. That doesn't say anything. Great for the encryption process. This sounds like a living off the land thing. So the Rust crypto library, great. Is that something that is openly available on systems anyways? Then here VMFS volumes, virtual machine, right? But I'm not quite familiar with exactly what that means here. Obviously something is encrypted in some way, but I don't know that path, and this Rust great also. But that's fine, they're encrypting stuff, that's what's important to see here. Then ePostler creates new encrypted versions of files, then deletes the originals with the new file names consisting of a random GUID and .lock for an extension. Okay, then we have ATT&CK, Hermes ransomware to encrypt. That one I heard. Okay, so as you can see, Hermes, this is one of those names that you will see often, and here again AES 265, so that's again symmetric cryptography. It needs to be fast, right? So then APT41 used a ransomware called Encryptor RAS, ransomware as a service, yes. RAS, to encrypt files. It is a service indeed, because they offer you even kind of a support if it comes to decrypting files after you have paid. Those companies are quite professional, it's unbelievable. But also it's a dangerous job. I mean, they don't need to be surprised catching a bullet to the head at some point, because they are encrypting quite people, companies, and behind these companies and there are some people with let's say influence. Okay, so it's a quite a it's a very dangerous as a service model what they are running there, but highly profitable as well. Yeah, also use Microsoft BitLocker to encrypt workstations. Yeah, Microsoft BitLocker. So this is the tool that you use and hope to protect yourself, but is of course uh, obviously these tools once an attacker has administrator rights, he can use BitLocker to encrypt yourself. Then Avadon encrypts the victims using a combination of AES and RSA encryption schemes. That's interesting. That is called, um, if you use both, you are like not symmetric or not asymmetric, and then you have this combined crypto system if you use both. So RSA is an asymmetric crypto. We took a look at this, I think. We looked at Rivet, Shamir, and Edelman. We looked at it in the Kill Chain series at some point. Yeah, then we have Avos Locker as encrypted files, networks, resources, again AWS, and then they added this this dot and then some name as an extension for the file names. Well, we have many more. And here interesting is again Cha-Cha 8. This is appears to be commonly used by these people. So we might take a look, and here ECTH. So the EC in cryptography stands for elliptic curves. Very complicated. So I did not participate at university in these advanced cryptography courses. I took other courses. We had the choice, but elliptic curves, that's a quite complicated mathematical model. I think you have to understand mathematics really well to follow elliptic curve cryptography, but it has advantages. This is as much as we can. I think this is. Oh, and also, sorry you guys, I forgot while going through this. I forgot to switching into reading mode, but that's fine. So we will try to remember next time. Okay, so let's jump now to mitigations, and I'm very happy to see that Mitre attack is also not far away from what I would recommend to anybody who is engaged in ransomware, who is somehow affected by that. So first of all, let's try to save a little bit of space here, because the detection strategy, it can fit on the same page, I feel like. Yeah, let's do it like this. Let's make this a little bit smaller. Let's not forget now to change into reading mode, and then we have both, right? Detection strategy and this. And we do this a little bit bigger, like this. Or maybe even a little bigger, like this. That's okay, right? Let's go through this. So, mitigations. Behavior prevention on endpoints. That's nice. So what do they say here? On Windows 10, enable cloud delivered protection and attack surface reduction rules to block the execution of files that resemble ransomware. In AWS environments, create an EIM policy to restrict or block the use of SSEC on S3 buckets. Yeah, prevent encryption. Good point. And as mentioned before, most often Windows is affected, right? So this is that's why Windows is mentioned here as well. And the second one, that's the one that I'm happy about, that they are mentioning it. And I'm also happy to see that we don't have 10 mitigation strategies here and do this, do that. Yes, you can do a whole lot to prevent it. You can use a SIM system to detect it, obviously. But the one thing that protects you from ransomware, from encryption attacks, just have a recent backup. Do daily backups in such a location that make sure that the backup cannot be encrypted. Okay, so this is of course something that attackers do as well. They not just encrypt your data. If they get access, their hands on your backup, they will encrypt that too. But if you have a recent backup, ransomware cannot do any damage to you at all. Okay, you just smile at the attacker. You're like, funny that you encrypted. I have a backup from yesterday night, and that's what you have. So unfortunately, the companies that I sometimes see, they don't have a clear backup strategy. So sometimes somebody does a backup and that thing is a couple months old, and then encryption hits you and all you have is a backup that is 2 months old. What do you do with that? Well, sometimes it is better than nothing, yes, but you have lost 2 months of productive work pretty much, and that's you can't afford it usually. Yes, so this is backup. Um, and it's also I, let's read what it says. Consider implementing IT disaster recovery plans, procedures. Yes, so it's not just like having a backup, and it's really plans, you know, that contain procedures. It's all paperwork, and we are going to look at that in an unpopular opinion series at some point. The necessity for documents in a solid cybersecurity workforce. It doesn't work if you have smart heads doing their job and somebody taking backups every now and then. No, it needs to be a plan, it needs to be a procedure, and this stuff is written down. And it has a ticketing system, you have a Confluence, you have a Jira type of system that you can use and document these activities. Yeah, and then obviously you need to testing that stuff as well. Ensure backups are stored off system, yes, to protect them from. That's what I just said, so we don't read anything new here, which is good. But this is one of the topics that most consultants and cybersecurity people will be familiar with. It's in the news for the last 5 years or so. Ransomware is just the hot topic, and that never cooled off for the last years. Okay, detection strategy. What do we have? Detection of multi-platform file encryption for impact. So high-frequency file write operations. This is now for the SOC, right? The detection strategy. So registry tampering, shadow, usage of CLI tools, PowerShell, Cypher. Yes, so you can look for certain tools. Then open source libraries, look for them as well if they are used. Then kernel level ransomware encryption using SIM, GPG. I'm not familiar with these two. Often correlated with ransomware. Okay. Then ransomware encrypts, and then you have these file names here for virtual machines. May rename to locked or delete. Often correlates with shell commands. Yes, encryption of cloud storage objects S3 buckets via server-side encryption. May include API patterns like put object with SSE headers. Yeah, so these are the things to look out for when it comes to finding these things through a SIM. Okay, now we have 165 references, and again we are going to take a look at some of those. So let me first of all get rid of this and this. Alright, and then I'm going to copy you over some of the references. Let's say, yeah, this much is enough. Yeah, there we go. This looks okay. This can be a little bigger, I believe. Like this. It can be a little bigger like this. And let's see if it's still readable in the reading mode. Not quite. Yeah, so like that. And then we move this. Oh, there's a combination that we can use. Alright, so this is the... I don't like how it looks like this. So we have now here a lot of sources. Let's just fly over some of those if we can detect. So the US CERT, that's a source. Also US agency, cyber emergency response team or recovery team. And as you can see, the US CERT has quite some of the sources here. Then Not surprising, we see the CISA again, another US agency. CISA we see multiple times. Then we have the Microsoft, this Mystic group. Okay, there's a threat intelligence group. Who else do we see here? US CERT oftentimes, Barry, Michael Dawson, no, Nutland, Thomas, Sentinel-1 we see here, okay. Oh, look at this. Even the FBI is in that game. Interesting. So I usually don't see papers from the FBI that much. This is even recent from this year. Carbon Black, yes, that's also a very popular. But yeah, so those are the sources. I think we have seen, we have obtained a good overview now over what it is. So, and we are 31 minutes into the video. I think that's a pretty good time for a video like that. We also spent some time talking about off topics, right? So we had, I think, a good half hour of content here. And so we have now an overview, or we obtained an overview of the general data encryption. What is it? In what stage does it happen? We looked at attackers, recognized some names like Akira. We have now a good idea of how to prevent it. Well, data backup, and we took a look at some sources. I think that's enough for the moment. Let me know in the comments what you think. Have you ever been exposed to ransomware? How did you handle it? And yeah, thank you for watching. Thanks for spending time on cybersecurity together with me. I think this is time well spent. And yeah, see you in the next video then. Goodbye.